but let's get started. So today I want to talk about 3 really straightforward tactics to build your email list. So I love, talk about the strategy and the content, that kind of higher level stuff, which we are going to touch on. But I also want to talk about some really practical tactics that you can implement immediately into your strategy. So let's dive in. All right, first up, like I said, that big picture, you guys know I love it. So most of you guys are here probably because you know that there's something important about email marketing, right? That there's a piece of it that works and that you want to learn more about how to make it work better for you. So for anyone who maybe is still doubting, just a couple stats that I find really interesting every time I look at them is 40% of business-to-business marketers say that email newsletters are actually a really critical part of their content marketing success, which I think is awesome. Definitely a piece of mine. 99% of consumers check their email every day. So that includes the weekends. So that means if you're in their inbox, you're going to get in front of their face at least once a day, or however often you send an email. Whether or not they open it is a whole other matter, but we'll talk about that next week. And then 59% of respondents say that marketing emails influence their purchase decisions, right? So I know that when I get an email that says, hey, there's a big sale going on at my favorite store, I am so much more likely to go in and click and shop around and actually buy something than when I see it on their social media or on TV or literally anywhere else because it's right there. So those are just some really interesting things that made me think about how I interact with emails, and that really support this idea that email marketing is still a really strong tool to build your business. And so where I want to begin is looking at who we focus on, how to create your list builders, and then how to promote it, right? So that's kind of the steps where we want to go through and kind of the things you want to think through when thinking about how you're going to grow your email list. So definitely let's talk about those. And then this is a little pro tip. Something that I think is really helpful is start sending emails now, even if your list isn't built. So whether you have 1 subscriber, 0 subscribers, or 100, get used to creating emails on a regular basis. Pick, either a month or every other week or weekly. However often you really want to start sending emails, start to do that. Even if you're just sending them to yourself, that is a really helpful way to create a routine and a rhythm in your weeks and months and all that fun stuff, so that when you do start creating this content and getting these subscribers, you don't let it get stale, So that's just kind of a pro tip, something I've learned along the way and from other marketers. All right. But first, let's talk about focusing on your audience. So that first piece of who are we talking to? Why does that matter? So just like any piece of marketing, making sure that you're really focusing in on who you want to connect with is going to determine how successful you are in your strategy. So these are the 4 questions I constantly ask myself, especially when I'm creating any kind of lead generation or opt-in opportunities, anything like that. These are the questions you want to be asking. So who do you want to work with? The best thing I think about being your own boss and having your own business is that you get to pick who you get to work with. So if you know that someone is not going to be the best person for you or is not in line with your business values, you don't have to work with them, right? There's no boss above you saying you have to do this. And so thinking about who you want to work with will help you to create the right kind of content and narratives around what you do so that you'll attract those people naturally. And so the people you don't necessarily want to work with won't even cross your mind or their radar, anything like that. And so that's something I always think through is who are the kind of clients I want to work with and what are their struggles, right? And that kind of leads in that second question is what are the biggest questions your ideal clients ask you? And this is the easiest way to create opt-in freebies or webinars or anything like that we're going to talk about, is thinking what are the questions people are asking me and how can I answer them before they even ask? And so for me, for example, this is always really helpful for me to ask this question for myself because I'm always really interested in the next big trend, right? I want to know the itty bitty, tiny things that are going on social media that I can capitalize on. But for most of my clients, they're not there yet. They want help putting together their social media platforms, figuring out what works for them, understanding how to build their following, all of these kinds of things that they don't need all that fancy kind of extra advanced stuff. They just need the basics. And that's who I want to support and who I want to talk to. And so knowing that allows me to not answer these crazy questions of how do I connect this, that, and the other, but instead answering the questions of, okay, how do I get people to follow my Facebook page? Or how do I engage with new customers on this platform? So thinking through those kinds of questions, because people are going to come for you because you're the expert, because they're not, right? So don't be giving them expert level content unless that is who your target audience is. So think through those kinds of questions and then speak into that. That third piece is, what service or product do you want to promote this month? So something that I do every month is do, some goal setting and really thinking through, okay, if I want to reach this goal at the end of the year, here's what I need to accomplish each month. And this month, you may or may not be able to guess, I'm looking to build on some more email marketing clients, right? And so that's why I want to really communicate email marketing, what I think of it, how I work with it, all that fun stuff. So people can say, oh, okay, Hannah knows what she's talking about. I'm willing to invest in her and have her, do this piece for my business. And so thinking about that kind of stuff for you as well is going to be really helpful. So if you have, a new product line coming out or a new coaching series coming out that you really want to promote, then make sure you're talking about that, creating content around that. That seems really simplistic, but it's also really easy to forget that and to say, oh yeah, I just want to do this. Let me create this interesting thing and not let it lead back to your goals. So that's an important piece to keep in mind. And then the last one is, what is a high value topic for your ideal client? And we kind of touched on this with that second question, but thinking again, what's high value to my client may not seem high value to me. So I know that a lot of my clients would find it really helpful to have a guide or a checklist or some kind of step-by-step process on how to do things, because a lot of times that's what they end up asking me to do, right? They don't want to figure it out. They don't have the time, and they shouldn't have to. They're focused on other things. So if I can create a checklist of, the top 5 things that you need for, an email campaign or whatever it is, that's going to be valuable to them. And because I already know that information, it's not going to be as high value to me. So again, taking yourself kind of out of that equation and putting yourself in your customer's shoes is going to help you to create something that will actually convert people to subscribers and eventually to customers and clients. So again, that's our big picture. Let's kind of zone in and focus more on the actual practicals of what you can create. So first up, let's talk about the freebie. If you've followed any of my social media, you've probably seen a few of these. I've talked about these in the past through other, webinars, things like that. But this is probably the most popular way that people grow their list, and definitely something I would suggest starting with if you're not really sure what to do, or if you don't have a whole lot of extra time on your hands, right? So a freebie is going to be some kind of offer, whether it's a template, maybe it's a PDF, maybe it's an ebook, whatever it is, it's something that someone else can download, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in connection with you. They don't necessarily have to buy anything. It's free, right? Freebie. So this is how you're going to create your freebie. You're going to pick a topic. Remember, it's going to be that high value topic and content that your ideal client is going to want and need, and that they're going to be actively searching for. Then you're going to pick your format. Are you going to create a PDF? Is it going to be an Excel file, a video? Whatever it is that you're going to offer, pick that format and then start to think about how you want to process that format. So does this mean if it's going to be a PDF, do you need to design something? Where are you going to design it? How are you going to download it? Kind of just pick some of those topics, pick that format so you can think through those topics. The third piece is then actually creating the content and making it pretty. So all of the 3 different freebies that are pictured here, which you'll all get access to, all of those probably took me, I want to say maybe 2 hours to create the content and design it. Granted, I already knew all of the content and I pretty much had an idea already, and I'm very already skilled with Canva and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying it's going to take you that little to make this for you, but it doesn't have to be something big, right? That's the point I'm making. It doesn't have to be a 6-hour project. It could literally be you're saying, okay, I want to share these 10 tips with my audience because I know it's helpful. I know they need it. I'm going to write it in, Word. I'm going to make it pretty with this, font and add these things. And then that'll be it. That's all it has to be. It doesn't have to be super fancy. Mine are just some PDF files that are really, really helpful. And that's the goal, right? So create your content and make it pretty. And this is where I'm going to say, just do it. Follow that Nike logo and just sit down and do it. That's the hardest part. 99% of the time is just creating it. And it doesn't have to be perfect the first time you do it, right? So that fourth piece is where you're going to promote it. So just like anything else, if people don't know about it, then they can't access it. And especially if it's as high quality as you're going to make it, then they're going to want to know about it. So don't be afraid to share it on social media, in your email list. If you already have one, you could say, hey, share this with a friend or share this with a colleague or whatever it is that you want. Wherever you have a network and that you know or think that they would find whatever you've created interesting, share it there. And don't be afraid to say, hey, here's this PDF, and if you sign up with your email, you'll get access to it, plus, regular updates from me. So including that kind of content and that verbiage there is important. Then the fifth piece is follow-up. So this is where I currently even have not done what I'm saying. So do as I say, not as I'm told kind of thing, right? So creating a really strong follow-up process is important. And this is where you can really set yourself out from the rest. So we like to think it's just that freebie, right? But you can go the extra mile and provide even more high quality content, and therefore building trust and a relationship with your subscriber by creating an automated workflow and including 2 or 3 more emails that have really high quality content, right? So something I'm doing with my freebies, these are all about email marketing. And so once I've finished all of these webinars, my plan is to go and create a workflow where anyone who downloads these freebies are then going to get a weekly, I haven't decided if it's going to be weekly or maybe over a course of a few days, but they're going to get all these webinars, right? And they're going to be delivered right to their inbox, because by downloading this freebie, they're saying they want to know more about email marketing. And so even if they're not actively saying, hey, Hannah, tell me all these things, I can't imagine that they would be angry or disappointed to get a little bit more information, right? So think through that process as well. What more can you provide, and how can you really show up knowing that if whatever they're downloading, they're saying they want to know more about that, right? So having that follow-up process in mind is really important, and creating it ahead of time. So I have to go back now, right, after I create all these and update my process and my workflow and send it to anyone else who has downloaded the freebies. So do it ahead of time, save yourself a lot of time and hassle. And again, it doesn't have to be what I'm doing with a big old webinar. It could be, hey, these next 4 emails that I'm going to send, they're going to be some articles that maybe you wrote or maybe you didn't, but things that are helpful. Let's say you are a real estate person. You could send a freebie on a checklist of how to find the best realtor. And then the next 3 emails are going to be, the 3 questions you should ask every real estate agent at an open house, the top 10 ways to, I don't know, get a lower closing cost, and 3 great mortgage providers or something. I don't know. I've never bought a house, but something like that, thinking it doesn't have to be big and extravagant. And hopefully it's all things that you know and enjoy. And so creating the content is going to be really fun for you. Okay, so that's the freebie. I know we kind of flew through it, but I want to make sure that we get to the other ones too. And I really want to encourage and challenge you guys to try to make one this weekend even, and create this content for you to start promoting next week. Think through these things, and then you'll be able to evaluate it and say, okay, did this work? Did it not? Did people download this? Did they not care? If they did download it, what did they do? All that kind of stuff. You'll be able to analyze that and then update and pivot if you need to. So definitely recommend spending some time with these. All right, the second one that we're going to talk about is the webinar. And so videos are a huge asset right now, right? So everyone loves to watch a video, and webinars can be easily divided into more content on other platforms. So I haven't yet done this with my webinars, mainly because I just don't have the same amount of time as I want to, but eventually I could take this webinar and extract the audio and make it into a podcast, right? I could take pieces and snippets of this and create short stories on my Instagram or on my Facebook. All of these little things, I can take and divide these webinars out into more content. And so that's also a really great way that webinars can help you to grow your email list, because you can even divide them into separate emails. And then people also get to know you, right? So you get to see my face, I get to see your names. It's a fun way for us to build a relationship. And so you can do this as well with people who are looking to learn more about what you have to offer. So here's how you do it. Pick a regular time. It could be weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever works best for your industry, right? So if I'm talking to, I don't know, people who really don't have the time or interest in meeting for a webinar more than once a quarter, then that's cool. Then that's what I'll do. But for a lot of people, weekly is really great, especially if you keep it short. So figuring out what time works well for you and for your industry is really helpful. And then pick a platform and get familiar with it. So I started with Zoom, and this is kind of one of those things I learned through a trial and error. Is there's a lot of things Zoom now can do that I just haven't utilized, and that's not a bad thing. But knowing some of the things I know now would definitely have changed the way I would have done things from the beginning. So picking your platform and then spending a couple days just getting used to it, doing some trial webinars, all of those kinds of things is really helpful. Then the third piece, and this is really important, is pick and plan your content 6 to 8 weeks in advance. So that's what I did with this webinar series, right? And so you'll see I already have it picked out all the way through August. And then when I get to the end of this month, I'm actually going to start to plan for September and October. And part of that is one, just so I can really be intentional about the kind of content I'm creating. And I can say, okay, if there's something that I want to talk about that I want to make sure I dive a little bit deeper into and get a little bit more knowledge or insight in, then I can take those extra days to research and really make sure that I have the most up-to-date, accurate content. Or if I want to bring in guest speakers, then I have time to talk to them, right? If I already know what I'm going to be doing in September, then I can talk to someone and say, hey, it's August 1st. Are you available September 20th to do this webinar on X topic? And so we can get all that sorted out ahead of time and promote it really well. And that part of 4 is to promote it. And so when I know what I'm doing ahead of time, I can already create promotions for each topic in advance, and then people will also get to see it. So making sure that you're picking out your content, picking out how often you want to have your webinars, what platform you're going to use it on, and then always doing a follow-up. So whether it's the follow-up email you get from me, or if you create a whole follow-up lit system where if people came to X webinar, they'll get these different articles about the same topic. This is, again, just a really awesome way for you to be able to start to build a relationship and get involved in what people are interested in and really provide some serious value so that they will want to start to have that conversation with you. So that's that second option. So you have the freebie, you have the webinar, and then our last one is going to be a discount or an offer. And so we see all of this often, right? So with the freebie and with the webinar, people have to submit a email to get it, right? So to get the freebie download, you have to give me your email, or to come to the webinar, you have to submit your email. And so those are 2 ways to get that email list built. And then this third one is the discounts and the offers. And that's where people can submit an email, and then you give them a coupon code, or you have like a service maybe that you're giving a certain discount on. And so when they hire you, you can say, oh, okay, you subscribe to this, or you have this offer code. And so we can apply that. So this one's really simple, probably even more, or definitely more simple than the freebie in the amount of time it takes to set up, but you have to make sure that you keep it simple for you and that it makes good business sense, right? So if you're offering a product and you are discounting it to a point where you're no longer making any money off of it, whether it's you're losing an actual profit or you're, not even selling it at cost, then that's an issue. So with these, you have to be careful to make sure that you're being wise about what makes sense for your business. So a couple of options and ideas is you could do $50 off a service or product. So let's say you have a service that is typically $200, you can take $50 off, and that ideally is not going to break the bank for you, right? But that'll help the person that you're giving that discount to. 10% off a service for 6 months. Again, this is great if you have a really long-term client, and then hopefully, you'll make that money back essentially over the longer period of time after those 6 months. Or you could offer a free service with the purchase of another service. So I've done this with a couple of my clients, not necessarily to build my email list, but just in general is, they've purchased essentially like a lot of things from me, and I say, you know what, I'm happy to throw this other service in for free. And so it's a great way to really not only serve my clients, but also to just build that trust and saying, oh, okay, Hannah's taking care of us. This is great. So this is just some small ways that you can do that and build your list. And again, making sure that you're getting their email throughout all of that, whether it's a pop-up on your website or, you're creating a landing page, whatever it is, thinking through those kinds of things and giving it a time limit, right? So for June, you could get 75% off a full Shopify store for the month of June if you were impacted by COVID. So as everyone was and I may kind of run this offer back because more and more people are doing e-commerce. And so I did it just for the month of June because I knew that if everyone in the world wanted me to make a shop for them, I would be really hurting my business in the long run because I would be giving these offers I'd be giving them away too much. So keeping that in mind, but making it valuable enough that people are like, wow, okay, this is actually worth it. I don't know, $10 off a $1,000 product, still saving them $10, but it's not nearly as good as $100. Kind of weighing those options. So thinking again, what's going to benefit your client, but not break the bank for you. So those are just a couple of options there. I want to open it up now for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, please drop it in the chat or in that Q&A box. If you don't have questions, that's totally fine as well.